Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I've got a gripping story for you today, one that dives deep into the clash between power and justice. What happens when someone born into privilege believes they're above the law? Today we follow the rise and fall of Blake Jacobs, the only son of a powerful mayor, whose arrogance sets him on a collision course with the very laws he thought he could ignore. It's a powerful tale of pride, consequence, and ultimately, redemption. If you enjoy stories that leave you thinking and carry a strong message, make sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Let's dive in. Blake Jacobs was the only son of Mayor Edward Jacobs, a name that carried weight and influence across the city. Raised in a world of luxury and advantage, Blake never knew what it meant to struggle or be told no. From an early age, he wore his last name like armor, believing it protected him from consequences. His confidence quickly turned into arrogance, and with a cocky smile and a daring attitude, Blake strutted through life as if he owned the streets. He believed he was untouchable, above the rules that governed everyone else, because his father held the highest seat of power in the city. Whether it was breaking minor laws or disrespecting authority, Blake did as he pleased, confident that his father's position would shield him from any fallout. To him, rules were for the common man, not for the mayor's son. This mindset would eventually lead him down a path where privilege could no longer protect him. It was a bright, bustling afternoon in a Florida market square. Vendors called out to passers-by. The smell of fresh produce and street food filled the air, and people moved about in casual conversation. Among them walked Blake Jacobs, his usual swagger on full display as he soaked in the attention around him. Dressed sharply and oozing confidence, Blake strolled through the crowd like he owned the place. That's when he crossed paths with Officer Carter, a seasoned, well-respected policeman known for his calm demeanor and unwavering commitment to the law. With a clean uniform and eyes that had seen years of service, Carter quietly observed the market, ensuring peace was kept. But the moment their eyes met, Blake's pride flared. Seeing a regular officer in his path felt like an invitation to assert his dominance. Without hesitation, Blake began a loud public argument, his voice cutting through the marketplace as he challenged Carter's authority. The exchange quickly escalated. Insults turned into aggression, and in a sudden burst of arrogance, Blake shoved the officer. Gasps echoed through the square as people stopped to watch the confrontation unfold. What followed was a brief but intense scuffle, with Blake fighting wildly, fueled by entitlement, while Officer Carter remained composed and professional. He didn't respond with rage, only with the quiet discipline of a man who knew his role was to uphold the law, not be provoked. The crowd stood in stunned silence, watching what began as a power play spiral into a serious incident that no one could ignore. News of the confrontation spread like wildfire. What started as whispers in the market quickly became the talk of the entire city. Coffee shops, barber shops, and street corners buzzed with speculation and disbelief. People couldn't stop talking about how the mayor's son had publicly disrespected a police officer. Some were shocked, others angry, but most agreed on one thing. This time, Blake had gone too far. Back at the precinct, Officer Carter quietly filed an official report, documenting every detail with clarity and precision. His department didn't treat the incident lightly. This wasn't just a scuffle in the streets. It was a test of the law's integrity. While Carter continued his duty with the same calm resolve, Blake walked away from the scene with a sense of pride, convinced he had once again proven his dominance. But something about the silence that followed him didn't sit right. The faces in the crowd, the stares, the judgment, they began to weigh on him. For the first time, a flicker of doubt crept into his mind. Meanwhile, across the city, a respected community leader named Sarah Thompson stepped forward. Known for her unwavering stance on justice and equality, Sarah raised her voice in a public forum. No one is above the law, she declared firmly. Her words struck a chord with citizens who had long grown tired of favoritism and unchecked power. The city was no longer just watching, they were demanding accountability. The fallout from Blake's confrontation with Officer Carter grew larger by the hour. Not long after, Blake received an official summons to appear for questioning. It was a formal notification that made his heart sink. He knew things were about to escalate in a way he hadn't expected. As the media picked up the story, Blake's name quickly became headline news. The once untouchable son of the mayor was now under public scrutiny, and the coverage only fueled the growing tension across the city. Meanwhile, Mayor Edward Jacobs, who had always stood by his son, found himself deeply disappointed. It wasn't just a blow to his family's reputation, it was a challenge to the very principles he had worked hard to uphold as mayor. Behind closed doors, the mayor wrestled with his own emotions, torn between his duty to his office and his love for his son. The day of the court hearing arrived, and Blake stood before a judge known for his fair but unwavering stance on the law. The courtroom was packed with onlookers eager to witness the outcome. Witnesses, including Officer Carter, testified about the incident, recounting the events with clear and steady voices. The case was laid out with shocking transparency, and it became clear that Blake's actions were not just a momentary lapse in judgment, but a deliberate defiance of authority. As the judge heard the testimonies, the weight of justice began to settle into the room. Despite his privileged background, Blake was held accountable for his actions. The verdict was swift. Blake was found guilty. The crowd, silent at first, seemed to exhale in collective relief. No matter how high someone was born, the law had to remain impartial, and Blake's status couldn't protect him any longer. Blake's sentence began, and the reality of his situation hit him hard. No longer a privileged young man with a world of opportunities at his feet, he found himself facing isolation behind bars. The weight of regret settled heavily on his shoulders as he reflected on his arrogance and the consequences it had brought not only on himself but on his family. The once confident swagger he carried was replaced with a quiet, reflective demeanor as he navigated the daily routine of his sentence. Days blurred into weeks, and in the solitude of his cell, Blake began to truly confront the harshness of his actions. Determined to grow from his mistakes, Blake signed up for counseling, hoping to understand the root of his behavior. He also began attending community meetings, listening more than speaking, as he observed how people who had experienced true struggle valued respect, responsibility, and fairness. Blake realized that he had taken these things for granted his entire life. At night, instead of distractions, he turned to books about justice, law, and human rights, seeking knowledge that had always been just out of reach. His journey of introspection and learning was slow, but genuine. Blake began to understand the depth of the flaws he had once ignored. He was no longer the cocky young man who believed the rules didn't apply to him. Instead, he was starting to see the importance of accountability, of standing by principles that protect everyone equally, regardless of status. It wasn't an easy transformation, but every small step he took was a sign that Blake was starting to change for the better. Months passed, and Blake's transformation, though slow, began to take root. He was no longer the defiant young man who had once felt invincible. One day, while working at a local community event, Blake had a chance encounter with Officer Carter. Their eyes met briefly, and in that moment, there was no need for words. Carter, the officer who had once stood firm against Blake's arrogance, now saw the genuine change in his eyes. Blake, in turn, recognized the quiet respect that Carter had earned through his calm authority. The mutual understanding between them was unspoken, but powerful, a recognition that Blake had come a long way, and perhaps there was more to redemption than punishment alone. As Blake continued to work on himself, his efforts did not go unnoticed. Neighbors who had once looked at him with disdain began to see a new side of him, one filled with sincerity and hard work. He spent time helping at local events, offering support to those in need, and showing respect for everyone he met. Slowly, the community started to forgive, seeing that Blake's remorse wasn't just a fleeting feeling, but a commitment to making things right. His story began to take on a new meaning, no longer just a tale of arrogance and punishment, but a symbol of second chances. Blake had learned that redemption wasn't handed to you. It was earned through consistent, humble effort. And as the days passed, he became living proof that even the most flawed among us could change, given the right mindset and a genuine desire to do better. Blake's story is a powerful reminder that no amount of pride or privilege can shield you from the consequences of your actions. We all have to answer for what we do, regardless of our status. But redemption is real. It's possible to change, though it requires humility, hard work, and a willingness to grow. Blake's journey teaches us that true strength doesn't come from arrogance or entitlement, but from acknowledging our mistakes and putting in the effort to better ourselves. His story shows us that growth is the real measure of strength, and it's never too late to change for the better. Thank you so much for watching. If Blake's story resonated with you, please give this video a like, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful narratives just like this one. Make sure to hit the notification bell so you never miss a story. Your support means a lot, and I'd love to have you along for the next one. Until next time, take care, stay humble, and remember, growth is the true path to strength.